Superman.
DC Comics has been trying to create a successful cinematic universe for quite some time now. And while there have been a few hits like The Batman, the first Wonder Woman film, and the first Aquaman film, there have been a ton of flops. The second Wonder Woman movie, the second Aquaman film, Blue Beetle, Black Adam, and The Flash, just to name a few. These movies they're not only are they bad, but they lost a ton of money. Now, desperate to become successful, DC named James Gunn the CEO of DC Studios back in 2022. Now, Gunn was behind the successful Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy for Marvel. Now, he's already released a couple DC Universe TV shows, but this past weekend gave us the release of James Gunn's first DC movie, Superman. And man, there are a ton of expectations with this film. Can James Gunn save the DC Universe? Can he overcome superhero movie fatigue? Also, this is Superman. This is probably the most recognizable and iconic character in all of comic books. Can James Gunn bring this character to the screen successfully? Lots of expectations here. So, what do we have here? Is James Gunn's Superman a possible return to successful superhero films? Is it the beginning of the turnaround for the DC Cinematic Universe? Is he able to successfully put this iconic character on the screen? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot to James Gunn's Superman.
Let's talk.
So our story begins 3 years after Superman has revealed himself to the world. Clark Kent is already established as both Superman and a Daily Planet journalist. He's grappling with his Kryptonian heritage and human upbringing amidst a world that questions his ideals. Lex Luthor sees an opportunity to exploit the tension and undermine his credibility. Now Superman must prove to the world that he is their protector after Luthor conducts a plan to turn public opinion against him. All while Lois Lane and Krypto, Superman's canine companion, must help him before it's too late. So what works in this film? Well, I have to say the casting of your main three characters, Superman, Lex Luthor, and Lois Lane, are excellent. David Cornsweet plays Superman. He does a fantastic job capturing the essence of this character. He's earnest, he's brave, he's sincere, and he looks the part. And at his heart, he truly cares about people. Rachel Brosnahan, she plays Lois Lane. She's not written as your typical 2025 infallible girl boss. She's a true partner to Kent. But she doesn't just help and support him blindly. She will challenge him and his beliefs, but not in a disrespectful and mean-spirited way. In a way that conveys she's coming from a place of love. Nicholas Hoult plays Lex Luthor, and I have to say, he's generally great in everything he does. He gives a good performance here as the obsessed, single-minded genius criminal. The CGI is for the most part pretty decent, especially with Krypto the dog. I mean, I can imagine it's difficult to do a CGI flying dog, but the creatives here do a good job. There are also several side characters here, but the best one is absolutely Mr. Terrific. Actor Edi Gathegi plays this character. He's a member of a group called the Justice Gang. He's funny, he's confident, and when he's on the screen, he commands the scenes. I wouldn't mind actually seeing a movie focused on him.
Everything looked very legit.
What doesn't work in this film is that it sometimes can't get out of its own way. And that might be because of James Gunn. Now, his successful superhero movies are basically a cast of misfit characters coming together, putting aside their differences to win the day. Think of the Guardians movies. That's what the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Also, his movies are filled with quippy little jokes. But this is Superman. It should focus mostly on Superman, and it really doesn't. I'm not saying he's a side character in his own film, but there are just so many people that this film tries to focus on, so many characters, that it loses focus on Superman. And, throwing in the occasional joke is fine to lighten the tension, But there are several scenes in this film that are extremely serious. But they're not allowed to breathe because in the middle of the seriousness, a joke or a funny part is thrown in. Also, I get Superman as a tough character to write because he's basically invulnerable. But this movie has Superman getting his ass kicked way too many times. You know, it's fine to see Superman struggle. It's fine to see him defeated. It's fine to see him fighting for his life. But in this movie, he just never really seems to get the upper hand. We never get to really see him shine as a hero. Sure, there are some good scenes where he saves people, which is at the heart of the character, what he does, but those are few and far between.
Be a hero.
Now, in the weeks before this movie, there was some ridiculous statements about it being political or being about current day nonsense, and I'm pleased to report that it's not that at all. You know, this was a really tough one for me because there is so much in this movie that is so well done, but there is also so much in this movie that undercuts it. I wanted this movie to be excellent, and instead what I got was a good film. And that's fine. I'm just not sure if this movie is going to be the one that leads the resurgence of not only the superhero films, but the DC films. It seems to have done well its first weekend at the box office, so we will see. Look, if you're a fan of James Gunn movies and you like his style, you're probably going to love this movie. I just think that his style isn't very conducive to a Superman film. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any stretch. It's still a well-acted, decently directed, solidly animated movie that has more good than bad. But it sometimes gets lost and tangled up. Time will tell if it can live up to its lofty expectations.
Only time will tell.
Well, that's it for me this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a question, share this video with friends and enemies alike, and as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.